Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the third turn of the Shadow Tech Goddess, Stenibelle. Chapter 6, the Demophalon John. So, in our previous chapter, our protagonist, Lady Stenibelle, was having a good old time on Hoffman Plate, planning fall, throbbing, whoring, abducting, summoning, and so on, using the 5 mystical bullabungs given to her by her kind benefactor, Hannah Ben Sherlamp, EVOR. These bullabungs made her a very capable person. They made her very confident, very sure of herself, very willing to use her considerable skills, allowing her to conjure mystical entities, to create complicated holy stones, to build a dungeon, to beat the shit out of physically larger opponents, and so on. But this efficacy comes at a considerable price, as these bullabungs have gotten squarely into her head. If she keeps on wearing them, she is going to die. Aram and Alesta, her friends from another universe, come to her aid, tell her those bullabungs are making you bad and to hand them over immediately. And Stenibelle scoffs like, why would I want to give you these things? These are going to make me a fortune. If you want them so bad, come and get them. And Lady Alesta came and got them, grabbed her by the arm, judo flipped her through the air, had her on the ground, put her foot on her neck, and ripped those things away. She then had a hard week of considerable withdrawals from the bullabungs as they leached her brain of neurotransmitters. Aram and Alesta even had to fetch the Hospitaller, Morgan Jeterix, who is also an extraplanar entity of creepy powers, to come and assist in her convalescence. She did. Stenibelle recovers, finds out that George Parr is gone, and Hannah Ben Sherlamp cut her off. Like a boss cut her off. Aram and Alesta had to pay her tab at the inn, and that they are gonna help out using the Marion's Road, get her onto the George Parr, because they need the information she's seeking for the professor. They need to know where Camera is. All in these 8 universes, all the various versions of Paymaster Stenstrom, Stenibelle included, have their little roles to play, and usually one role builds off the other. And Stenibelle's role is to find Camera, and then when she finds it, other versions of Paymaster Stenstrom can proceed in this quest. So, everything's riding on our little Stenibelle here. They book passage to Kana because they need a rural setting in order to summon the mystical Marion's Road, and you're not going to be able to do it on Planetfall. It's just not going to happen. You can be dropped off on the Marion's Road on Planetfall, but you can't summon it there. It's just too much power. So they need to go out into the country, like the countryside of Kana, where they can do it at their leisure. And they book passage aboard the Demophalon John, which of course is Lady Gwendolyn's ship. Gwendolyn, when last we saw, was laying on the floor in the alley, mouth bleeding, having been thoroughly trounced by Stenibelle in their brief fight. Stenibelle's like, I don't want to see this person because I'm ashamed of what I did. They get on, they get to their rooms, and Stenibelle starts hiding from the commander. She just doesn't want to see her. In this episode, coming up, the Demophalon John, a lot of truths are going to be presented to Stenibelle. A lot of extraplanar truths that, like it or not, she is connected to various people across the universes. It would be best if she just squared up with this. She's asked to look at herself, look at her sexuality, look at her values and morals, and determine which ones are valid and which ones are not. So we'll see how Stenibelle reacts to some of these truths. Also, like to welcome back our good friend, the Queen of the League of Elder, Carol Phillips. She once again will be reading the lines of the inscrutable Hannah Ben Sherlamp, EVOR. Carol is a pretty awesome person. Go visit her on Twitter. Not Twitter. Oh, don't go to Twitter. No, don't go to Twitter. Go to Twitch and look up Carol Phillips art, and you'll see her channel where she paints and reads, and maybe will sing, does all kinds of stuff. Carol Phillips, always a good time to hang out at her Twitch channel. Anyhow, let's proceed immediately. Chapter 6, The Demophalon John. A day into their trip back to Kana, Alesta and Stenibelle practiced in her small room, all the furniture pushed aside, giving them room to move. So, do as I do, Alesta said. This is a simple throw. You stand with your feet apart, your left foot in front of your right foot. Place your hands here, and then simply pull, and I'll go flying over your shoulder. Stenibelle did as Alesta advised, and pulled on her smock, but nothing happened. Alesta was trying to teach her how to fight. I'm sorry, Stenibelle puffed. I'm just not any good. You're a very patient teacher. May we take a break? Certainly. Stenibelle had warmed up to Alesta and Aram since their trip to Kana had begun. She now considered them dear friends. One thing that Lieutenant Gwendolyn said that's troubled me, Alesta. What is it, Belle? When I took the Seeker with Aram, I really had no idea what I was doing. Gwendolyn pointed out that I could have killed him due to my incompetence. Alesta smiled. But you didn't. There's a great person inside you. I watched you come and save us all. You got us food and a safe place to hide, and then you were ready to sacrifice yourself for complete strangers. That wasn't me, Alesta. I didn't do those things. That same person is inside of you. The reason I'm teaching you these techniques is not to demonstrate the basics of fighting, but to give you confidence, to believe in yourself. You can do so much if you only gave yourself credit. You don't need a Bolabung to be great, Belle. Every day I see it more and more. The Belle I know as a man is a great man, and you are a great woman just waiting to shine through. Stenibelle laughed. Thanks. The door opened and Morgan came through, hands on hips. She surveyed the situation. What are you doing? She asked. I am teaching Belle how to fight. Just some simple throws and so forth. Morgan scoffed. Look, if you want to know how to fight, you're not going to want to learn it from a Pilgrim of Marion. Okay, you have access to a real live hospitaller, warrior healers, with an emphasis on the warrior part. Morgan flopped down onto the floor and pulled her boots off. Come on, Belle. Let me show you a few things. Stenibelle didn't want to go out there with Morgan. She turned to Alesta. Morgan, I think she's had enough for today. Alesta, give us this room, please. Alesta's expression darkened. She was skeptical. I don't think that would be wise, Morgan. Do you? Morgan offered a slightly wicked smile and licked her lips. Why? What do you think I'm gonna do? Suck her dry or something? Think I'm gonna freak out? Alesta wasn't going to budge. Well, you tell me. Stenibelle nodded. If she couldn't face up to a slightly pushy and obviously eccentric hospitaller, what could she do? It's all right, Alesta. Alesta sorted through her things and pulled out a small jug. She unstoppered it and held it out to Morgan. Smell this first, please. Morgan sighed and took a few whiffs of the open jug. All right, thank you. I'm fine. What is that? Stenibelle asked. Morgan laughed. Oh, it's just my monster juice. And what is that? I'll explain it to you later, Alesta said. I'll be in the next room if you need me. Alesta gathered her things and walked out. Remember, Morgan, you promised, she said as she closed the door. What was that all about? Stenibelle asked, a little put off. Nothing, Morgan said as she slowly approached her. Oh, those feet again, Morgan remarked, looking down on them. So cute. Must you antagonize me so? Morgan looked her up and down, taking in Stenibelle's curves. Her eyes sparkled with greenish light. I'm just stating the truth. So, here's your situation. You're in an alley, and some lout comes out of nowhere spoiling for your cash, or possibly your blood. What do? Morgan advanced. She pushed Stenibelle hard on the shoulder. What do you do? I'd fade into the shadows and be on my way. Morgan laughed. Oh yeah, that little invisibility trick you do. Go ahead. Turn invisible. Stenibelle was a master at turning invisible, of fading into the shadows. Her mother had taught her and her sisters the skill, and Stenibelle was the best at it, with Lyra a close second. Her fade could fool sophisticated scanning systems and even arcane seeing eyes. Morgan reached out and seized her by her shirt. She pulled her close and barred her teeth. "It doesn't work on me, Belle. I can see you plain as day. So now what? Now what are you gonna do?" Stenibelle had no idea what to do. She had no marzible daggers. They were in the other room. She had removed her vuncula. She had nothing. She reached out, trying to grab hold of Morgan's arm and flip her as Alesta had just taught her. Morgan laughed and toyed with her. She bounced around, circling Stenibelle, batting her about the ears and face. "Come on, Belle, do something. I'm a crazed killer. I'm a monster. This is for keeps. Only one of us is walking away from this." Frustrated, Stenibelle went down and reached for Morgan's leg, hoping to topple her over. She lifted it by the reverse of the knee, raising it to thigh level. Morgan moved like a rabbit, wiggling free and taking Stenibelle down, wrapping up both her arms and her legs. Before she knew what was happening, they were in a tangle on the floor, Morgan's body intertwined with hers. Her beaded braids came down into Stenibelle's face. "Now what are you gonna do, Belle?" She squirmed, trying to get free. No chance. Morgan had her down. Morgan's green eyes blazed. "You and I could barely keep our hands off each other. You wanted me as much as I wanted you. That wasn't me. You speak of things that have never happened. Please let me go." "Yeah, you're right. Nothing happened. You and your Gwendolyn." Tangled up with Morgan on the floor, Stenibelle felt the heat of her body, but slowly that heat faded, turning to dry, dank coldness that pulled the warmth from Stenibelle's body. Morgan brought her face in close, her breath freezing. "If I didn't need you so much, I'd show you some of the things I've learned over the centuries. I would claim you, Belle." Stenibelle struggled, her body turning numb. "You're hurting me." "So? What do you need me for?" Morgan rolled her over. "I need you to succeed, that's what I need. I need this whole bloody exercise to be a rousing success." The light seemed to pour from Morgan's eyes, and Stenibelle felt her heart freeze. Morgan had cast some sort of spell over her, and she was unable to resist. "I'm tired of walking alone, of hiding, of pretending and forgetting myself in the sea of time. I want a place of my own, with you at my side. No, not you as a little woman, but as a great big man, and you're gonna help me get it. Do you understand?" Stenibelle was half listening, half asleep. Morgan tapped her on the face. "Are you listening? I just gave you something. Now you are going to do something for me. You are going to go aboard the George Parr, and you are going to get the information we both need. I'd get it myself, but it's haunted. There is shadow tech all over that ship. It's contaminated with it, and I can't go there. So you need to get it for me." Morgan let her go and stood her up. Stenibelle was weak and wobbly, leaning against her. "Come on, get hold of yourself. I'm going to say something right now, and you better listen. You need the Merthig. There, I said it. I can't believe it, because I hate the Merthig. Everywhere I go, there's the Merthig in my way. Here, in Universe 3, as Aram and Alesta called it, in order to succeed, you need the Merthig. There, I said it again." Stenibelle mumbled something. "What's that? Speak up." "I don't know what a Merthig is," Stenibelle said, her words slurred. Morgan lost her patience. "Did you not listen to Aram and Alesta? The Merthig, the ones who's at your side most of the bloody time. You draw power from the Merthig, and vice versa. The Merthig can do things she couldn't ordinarily do because of you. It's all so cute and nice, isn't it? Of all creatures, I hate the Merthig most. I'm jealous, I guess. I want what the Merthig has. There, I said that too. I want to be the Merthig, but I don't get to." "But what is it?" "It's not an it, it's a who. Gwendolyn, okay? It's Gwendolyn of Prentice or Xenon or whatever. She's the Merthig." Morgan stewed and seemed to be on the verge of a fit of temper. Her beauty faltered a bit. A hint of ugliness came through. Stenibelle stammered, trying to awaken from her pleasured state. But what do you mean? To become friends with Gwendolyn? To become allies? Or compatriots? Morgan lost her temper. She shook Stenibelle, her hands. The color had faded from her skin to a graveyard white. There were green, pitted claws, ridged and broken. No. How wet are you? I don't mean to become bosom buddies with Gwendolyn. I don't mean sharing a day at the park, trying on each other's clothes, sitting by a friendly campfire, roasting sweets. You giggle like little girls, you ignorant slag. I mean love her, to kiss her, to stick your tongue down her mouth until you get to her tonsils, to get naked and roll around in the hay while you strap on something provocative and illegal and go to it. That's what I'm talking about. To become her lover? But she's a woman. I'm not a man here. I'm a woman too. So? Morgan screamed. She got up into Stenibelle's face, her eyes smoldering. You're such a bore. Oh, she's a woman. It wouldn't be proper. Get past it. I could give you tips on maximizing a female-to-female encounter if you need some. I could teach you where to touch a woman to give her the maximum pleasure. I just showed you, didn't I? You need the Merthig. The Merthig gives you power. You need Gwendolyn, and you need her in your bed. Power? The bloody kiss in the alley, the power she felt. I hate her. Morgan spat and was fed up. I suggest you spit and shake on it or settle up whatever issues you have. You know, I want to do you a big favor right now. What? This. Stenibelle felt a wave of pure terror slam into her. It was enough to stop her heart. She fell to her knees, unable to function, unable to think. She looked up into Morgan's face. The beautiful Morgan was gone. In her place was a twisted, ancient wretch, bone white and dusty, breasts sunk and knees bent, green claws ready to rip her apart, the face of an evil, toothy crone with leering eyes of a wild animal. Her hair was a nest of green tangles. Stenibelle wanted to scream for Alesta, but nothing came out but a terrified whimper.
Like what you see? Like the immortal, ugly me, do you?
She raised her claws in a threatening manner. Fear hit Stenibelle in the face. She lost control of her bodily functions.
Aw, you just peed yourself. How sweet.
Morgan said in a callow voice.
You feel that? That's pure fear you're experiencing. Cool, isn't it? Just a little parlor trick I can do.
Through gritted teeth, Stenibelle managed to talk. What are you?
Me?
Morgan's eyes flashed.
I'm a monster, Belle. And I'm not kidding, I'm as bad as it gets. I'm no Merthig. I'm the Tempest Spindal, the lonely one, the cursed one, the bookmarked page in some sage's book. I'm the one who just ruins everything and takes the starch out of Kadar's like you, right? Alesta said I'm somewhat dangerous. If only. I'm completely, totally, and utterly dangerous. I've been making men and women high and low quake with fear and pee their pants for ages. I can stop people's hearts if I want to. If you can stand up against this, you can stand up against anything. Now! I want you to stand up.
Stenibelle was soiled, locked in place, throat tightened, every bit of her bound up in fear, every beat of her heart surely her last.
I said stand up!
Morgan roared.
Or I'll suck you out of existence right now and husk up and do this all over again in a century or two. You have 5 seconds. Stand up and live, or sit there and belly up to oblivion. 1, 2.
No, it's not possible.
3.
Stenibelle heard her sister's voice from somewhere deep down. Get up, Belle. Happy thoughts of the sand pit behind the manor, of her childhood, of going shoeless, dressing down in old linens and wrestling with Lyra in the pit. Mother would never approve. Ladies did not wrestle. Their older sisters used the pit to make sandcastles and fanciful palaces they hoped to one day live in with their husbands. But soon as Mother's back was turned, Lyra and Belle wrestled in the pit. They were going to be the boys their beloved father never had.
4.
Locking up with Lyra while Virginia watched, too shy to get in and wrestle with them. Headlocks and twisted ankles, bear hugging, grunting and straining, hair pulling, the occasional punch to the belly, the sand in their clothes and their faces, their mutually developing breasts proving to be more of a hindrance with each passing year. Lyra throwing her down. "Get up, Belle," she would say. And always she would get up, brush away the sand, and try again. Stenibelle managed to take command of her own fear-ridden body and make it move, force it to react. "Let's go," she said to Lyra. "I'm ready for more." And slowly, she wobbled up and stood. The beautiful Morgan was back. No more claws and bleached skin. She regarded her and smiled. She seemed impressed. The wall of fear abated and Stenibelle could breathe again. "Very good. If you can stand up to fear itself, then you've nothing to fear indeed." She put her boots back on and headed for the door. "Remember what you felt just now and how you stood up to it. Seems like such a little thing to stand up to the face of fear. You'd be amazed, though, how many great men and women before you could not. No fear you will ever feel again will be what I just did to you. Now go, and do your magic, and do not fail. If you do, next time we meet, I might not be so nice to you. And that's not a threat. It's just the truth." She exited and closed the door behind her. The terminal flashed as Stenibelle sat down at the sparse desk in her room. Nervous, she swallowed hard and felt her mouth go dry. She had a crawling feeling she knew who was waiting for her on the other end. After lunch, the comm officer had informed her that she had a pending message. She wasn't expecting any messages, therefore it could only be one person. Hannah Ben Sherlamp. Either she or her associate, Ottoman John. It had to be, and she wasn't ready to speak to either of them. She canceled the message and turned off her terminal. She would reach out to the professor later when she was more composed and had prepared something to say, had some argument in her defense as to why she missed the George Parr on Planetfall. But like a relentless demon forming in the corner, the terminal turned itself back on, and of its own accord, coned to life. Hannah Ben Sherlamp was not to be denied, and not even a turned-off terminal on a fleet ship millions of stellar miles away could stop her. The cone formed. The grand finery that emerged was unmistakable, as was the powdered, bewigged woman in a snowy gown with raven tendrils and a blaring brown eyes sitting behind her desk. There she was, beautiful and regal, but just as scary as Morgan's ugly face. They stared at each other for a few moments. Stenibelle spoke up. "Professor, well met. I had hoped to contact you later regarding..." Hannah Ben Sherlamp coiled behind her desk.
"Silence,"
she said, her voice tamed and cultured, but penned in and raging just below the surface.
"Lady Stenibelle, I do not appreciate my comms going unanswered."
Stenibelle remained calm. She answered in a rational, composed manner. "You cut me off and left me stranded on Planetfall. You know I had no money and no means of supporting myself."
"Then perhaps you should have been on that bloody ship as we agreed upon. I am not financing your ineptitude, not for one moment. I should have known you would prove to be a second-time failure. I had hoped there might be prospects for you, but look, see how you blundered out of the gates, spending your idle time robbing and possibly whoring the dock folk. Yes, I have the reports right here. Quite unladylike, isn't it? Yes, cutting you off on barbaric Planetfall was a reminder of who you are working for and how untenable your position is. Perhaps I should have had you arrested."
Elaborate holoscreens orbited her wigged head in an orderly fashion, and she glyphed them around with flicks from her wand. Stenibelle was filled with panic. She spoke up. You nearly killed me with those bullabungs. I was flat on my back, fighting for my sanity. That's why I missed a George Parr. My health was compromised. Professor Sherlamp pointed at Stenibelle with her glyph, and it was like a poke in the chest.
You are a tireless sorceress. You should be fully versed in the proper use of potent bolabungs. I hardly think I need or should be required to give you a primer on the matter. Take it up with your schoolmasters if you require additional training. They were rare gifts intended to assist you, not for you to misuse and develop a terminal dependency. And now look, I think I shall first freeze the remaining assets of your house. Oh, Tisk, how pitifully low they are.
Wait! Stenibelle roared. I thought you wanted a location of camera.
Yes, and apparently I'll have it over your dead body.
Light from an open door spilled into Sherlamp's darkened study. The shadow of a portly man wearing a nightshirt cast a dark smear on the wall.
For creation's sake, Hannah, where are my goddamn spectacles?
You know I cannot enjoy the post without them, came a nasally, rather whiny voice. Hannah Ben Sherlamp turned from her business.
Why, they're on your nightstand, darling, as always.
Hey, look there!
Just a moment, darling.
Hannah Ben turned back to Stenibelle.
Stand by a moment, please. I'll be back directly. Then I'll proceed to destroy your house.
She stood and gracefully exited the cone's field of view, her shadow joining the first one and elongating into a skeletal, demonic form. Stenibelle sat there trying to puzzle out a solution to this mess. It was the Seeker all over again. Crushing indecision. What to do? What can I do? She racked her brains. Soon the skeletal shadow reappeared, slithered down the wall, and Hannah Ben Sherlamp returned and seated herself.
Now then, where were we? Ah, yes, the end of your house.
Professor, you cannot do this, please. The professor's brown eyes flashed up and locked onto Stenibelle's.
There's a hard price to pay for failure, my dear.
She picked her glyph back up.
Take this catastrophic event that is about to happen and learn from it.
Something unexpected happened at that moment. Instead of becoming paralyzed with fear and struck with selective mutism as she had in the past, Stenibelle found herself becoming annoyed, becoming angry. This time, she would not be bullied. She thought fast. All sorts of comebacks and responses formed in her thoughts. Wait! You wanted the data for camera, and I am in a position to get it for you. Isn't that what you want? Don't you have lectures to give and awards to receive? The professor paused and tapped her fingers.
Are you saying you have it? Are you lying to me?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I will have it shortly.
And how so? The George Parr is at sea near Corvus. You are currently on a fleet scouting ship making half sail for Kana. What is your plan for boarding a fleet ship at sea? The prime opportunity for your boarding was at Planet Fall, and that has passed.
I have my methods. I shall be comfortably aboard their ship by the morrow and will have the information by nightfall. The professor regarded her with a critical eye.
Are you certain? I honestly don't see how you are going to accomplish this feat.
I swear it. Prepare to be astounded. The professor sat back and tapped her glyph on the desktop.
I make you this counter offer. I shall freeze the assets of one of your sisters. If you calm me from the George Parr by the morrow, then I shall reinvigorate her assets. No harm done, and we shall proceed.
She leaned forward.
So, which one is it to be?
Professor, this is not necessary.
Yes, it is. Pick one now, or I shall stay up all night, butcher carving your house into an unrecognizable carcass floating down the river of despair.
Stenibelle sighed. There appeared to be no mollifying the professor. She wanted her writhing piece of collateral, and there was no getting around it. The legion of her sisters rolled through her head, all regal, some like goddesses to her. She would not endanger Lyra and Virginia. They were precious to her and out of bounds. Berilla, Andromeda, Money, Salona, and Nylar, all social hierophants, wouldn't last 2 minutes without their husbands' money and their lofty seats in the League society. Natalie had spent years building her winery in Xenon. It was her dream. Constance was only recently cleared from a charge of witchcraft by the sisters. Io and Miranda were only newly married. The list went on and on. So who to ruin that would sting the least? Stenibelle had a thought. My sister Calamy. She knew her older sister Calamy lived a Spartan life in Remnath, growing botanicals with her grim-toothed husband. Her mother once complained, Calamy, your pewter-lock-haired daughter, walked barefoot down the streets of St. Paris in a filthy dress, her hands caked in manure, and cared not who saw her. Calamy the rebel, Calamy the I don't care, and the bane of her mother. Of all her sisters, Calamy could survive penniless the best. Calamy was strong. Hannah Ben Sherlamp moved her glyph.
Done. And please choose one more sister, as Kalami of a Pool doesn't have any money to begin with. Freezing her paltry accounts really adds up to nothing.
Damn her! Stenibelle thought fast. You did not specify the level of wealth or affluence of the sister I was to select. You asked for one sister, and I gave you one. I insist you keep to your original demand. I love Calamy no less than any of the others. The professor smiled a little.
Very well. What difference a day. Know this. I shall expect to hear from you aboard the George Parr by the morrow. Do you still have the uni-mind I gave you, or did you lose that as well while you were robbing and whoring?
Stenibelle showed the professor her empty hand. She made a fist, and when she opened it again, the unimind was sitting in her palm. Yes, I have it here. Her use of Tyrol sorcery, making the unimind appear from nowhere, had no visible effect on the professor. If she was impressed, she gave no indication.
Until tomorrow, then, and if you fail, the rest of your sisters shall suffer a similar fate, and that is just the beginning. Do you understand?
Yes, Hannah Ben Sherlamp calmed off. And with that, we conclude Chapter 6, the Demophalon John. So, Morgan tells her that her soul is connected to her enemy, her rival, her office nemesis, if you will, Lieutenant Gwendolyn, that their souls are linked together. It doesn't really matter if she's mad at her or not, if she even likes her or not. Their souls are connected by universal design. And there's really no getting around it. When Stenibelle fought Gwendolyn, she felt power. When she kissed her, she felt that power of their connection. And it's the same with the other versions of Paymaster Stenstrom. When he's with Gwendolyn, he is more powerful than he would be without her. And according to Morgan, begrudgingly, Stenibelle needs Lady Gwendolyn in one fashion or another. And then Morgan subjected her to a fear soak. That's one of the weapons of the Tempest Vidal, to create this unrelenting wall of fear. Fear strong enough to stop your heart. And she gave it to Stenibelle both barrels. But having faced that kind of fear, having stood up to it, even in a small way, just standing, getting up off her knees, has Stenibelle reveled in the memories of, wrestling around with her sister, Lyra. Standing up to fear like that is important because no fear she'll ever feel again will be that potent. Should she be afraid, should she encounter a fearful situation, it will lose a lot of its sting. It's sort of like putting a weight on your bat and swinging it around before you go take the plate to hit a ball. You put the weight on the bat, you swing it around, you get used to that weight. You take it off, the bat feels much lighter and you can swing it faster. It's the same thing. The fear soak Morgan gave her sort of makes her not immune to fear, but allows her to function, still allows her to deal with it and still be able to make rational decisions, and so forth. That came into play a little bit in her conversation with Professor Sherlamp, as Sherlamp was ready to destroy her house, and in the past, Stenibelle would have just groveled and sat there silent. But in this case, she was able to think, and she even got annoyed. Instead of being scared, she got annoyed and was able to make the professor a counter offer, have her ruin only one of her sisters instead of all of them. And that's an important first step. We're going to see Stenibelle turn a corner here from not being helpless, she's never helpless, but actually having the confidence and the verve to use her skills to put them to good use. And she's going to need them going forward, and we'll see how she grows from this experience. And that's what that was meant to do, like the foundation of a strong person, not a strong woman, not a strong man, a strong person who's got the hardening of experience behind them. And that's important for any person as they go on their life's journey. You harden yourself from your experiences and you grow from them, and they make you a better person. In any event, that was Chapter 6. Next week, Chapter 7, All Alone. And we'll see Stenibelle having to deal with some of these demons that she's been previously afraid to deal with, and see how she reacts to that. Thanks again to my good friend Carol Phillips, the queen of the League of Elder. She painted the beautiful cover that you saw at the beginning of the reading. Incredible artist, incredible painter, incredible singer, and burgeoning Twitcher. Again, go to see Carol Phillips art on Twitch, and you won't be disappointed. In any event, this is Ren Presents. I am your host, Ren. Peace out.